Welcome to the Writing Center. This is the main location of the IU Southeast Writing Center, and I'm Leanne Meyer. I'm the director of the Writing Center, and I also teach writing. Now, we're making some videos today because we have students who come in to get help, but sometimes it's not as convenient. And we do workshops, so check our website for the workshops. But we decided to make these two videos to help you understand how to use the two most popular documentation formats. So that one of these videos will be MLA and one will be APA. So what we want to talk about first is why you would want to cite your sources. So for every documentation format, it's just a way for you to give credit to the source. Of course, you don't want to plagiarize. Plagiarize means to take someone else's words or ideas and to claim them as your own. We know you don't want to do that. But the other reason that you want to document your sources is because it lends credibility to your writing. And so what you want to do is in your writing to say your words or your opinion or your thoughts and then pull in outside sources that are credible and that you know are good quality sources, and then cite those in your paper to say, look at all these great people or these smart people, these authorities who believe what I believe. So that's what you're supposed to do when you use the documentation format. Now, we also have all of the information that I'm going to talk about in the videos on our website. And in order to get to our website, I'm going to demonstrate to you. The quickest, easiest way to get to the website is just to open up a browser. And one of the great things we have in our Writing Center is this large computer that we use to teach. And so we're able to show you the IU Southeast homepage. And then you would click on the alphabet, the A-Z, right here at the top. And you're going to see the list here. And you click on W for Writing. And then W shows you the Writing Center. And here's our website. And this website can really be helpful to you in a number of ways. First, we have lots of resources here that I'll go through with you. But also in the bottom right corner, you'll be able to see our hours, our locations, our telephone number, our email address. So you can actually email us or call us if you have a question. Or if you look up on the page, we have a synchronous live chat button. So when we're open Monday through Friday, you can click on this wherever you are in the world and ask a question. Or you can Skype with us if you want to meet face-to-face. If you're traveling or studying abroad, you can actually set up a Skype appointment. That's the only appointment that you would need to talk with us online. And then we also have up here, under Get Writing Help, we have all of the ways that you can contact us to submit your paper. So what we do is ask you to fill out this form and tell us how to help you. Now remember, you've heard this through your first year seminars, that we don't proofread. What we do is we teach you how to proofread for yourself. And that's what this is about, is to educate you and to help you to learn to be a better writer. That our motto is to create stronger writers. So we invite you to come and have a writing conversation either online or in person at one of our locations. So at this point, we're going to transition to the MLA or APA part. So you might want to take out some paper and a pen or pencil and get ready to ask some questions. So now we're going to talk about MLA. And MLA is the most common documentation format in the humanities. It stands for Modern Language Association, and most high schools teach it, and it's used most often in your freshman writing courses and also in languages, arts, theater, and those types of courses that are in the humanities discipline. So what we're going to do is to talk about why MLA, and what we're going to do is look at the resources that we have here on the page. So if you go to the main page where we were just a minute ago, and we look at all of the documentation formats that are here, you'll notice that MLA is just one of them. We have 6 on here. We have MLA, APA, American Psychological Association, Chicago Manual of Style is CMS, used most often in history. ASA, American Sociological Association for Sociology, CSE, Council of Science Editors, that's for your science and chemistry and biology classes, and then American Political Science Association. So we have all of these here for you. The one we're going to do today is MLA. So we're going to look at the sources that we have specifically here for MLA, and you'll see that we have addressed the issues that most people want to know about to write their papers. I will mention that a lot of instructors will keep saying, use the Purdue OWL, use the Purdue OWL. And I'm not saying don't use the Purdue OWL. What I'm saying is use the Purdue OWL and our website. OWL stands for Online Writing Lab, and so this is our IU Southeast OWL. And what we do is to try to simplify things a little bit. If you've looked at the Purdue OWL, you'll see how awesome it is, but also kind of overwhelming sometimes. And so what we tried to do was to narrow it down to what our students need most. So let's say up here we have, if you have a quote that you found in a source that they quoted another author, you're not sure where to cite it or how to cite it, we address that issue here. And then we do a works cited page, and I'll show that to you because that's going to be the first thing I'm going to open. Then we're going to do a sample paper. Then we're going to look at in-text citations. Then we have some things here from Purdue OWL, which I'll show you and show you how to use those more effectively. And then we have a couple of other sources that you can use for MLA. So to get started, what I try to tell my students to do is to find your resources. Find the sources that you want to use or you think you'll use for writing your paper or citing in your paper, whether you're doing a speech or whatever you're putting together. Get those sources and determine if those are ones you probably will use in your paper. Then create a works cited page first. Yes, first. Create it first, because what you're going to do is to eliminate that last minute, oh no, I didn't do that works cited page. Let me get that done in the 10 minutes I have before the paper's due. So if you have that finished early, then you can bring it to the Writing Center or check it for yourself and make sure it's correct. And then the second thing that you want to do to make sure you have that completed is to then use it to cite in your paper, because you're going to do the parenthetical in-text citations. And so if you have the works cited page finished, you'll know what that first word or the first words will be to cite in your in-text citation. So it really serves two very good purposes to go ahead and do your works cited page. So once you have your sources, you determine what kind of source you have. And then you look at something like this. And this is what I call the MLA Cheat Sheet. It sounds much more glamorous than it is. But this is a two-sided sheet or a two-page handout that covers most of the sources that our students will probably use in their writing. So the first side is print sources. And it also has a film on it. It has a lecture. It has a personal interview. So these are all those types of sources. That's not every source you can use, but those are the ones we get asked for most often. So if you have those, that's how you would cite those. And you just look through here and follow. So if you interview someone, you put the interviews last name, comma, first name, a period, personal interview, little I, period, and the date like this. That's correct. On the second page, these are your internet sources, things that you have found from the World Wide Web. And so we try to do a web page within a website. We do journal articles, magazine articles, newspaper articles. Here's an entire website. Here's one with no publisher. So we try to show you N period, P period. Here's one with the URL. MLA, when they updated back in 2009, changed it and felt like most sources anymore can be found by just Googling the title. And so they took it out, the requirement of adding the URL. Now, that doesn't mean that your teacher may not want it. So being a smart student, what you want to do is to be proactive and go to your teacher and say, MLA doesn't require the URL anymore, but would you prefer that I have it there? Or you can make the determination on your own. This is hard to find, so I'm going to go ahead and include the URL. And then it also ends with a database. So if you're using an online database through a library, this is how you would cite it. Now, the other handout that we have here, we have the link here. I told you about the Purdue OWL. And because most students use electronic resources, we link right to the electronic resources. So if you look at this, this is, on the left side, everything you probably need to know about MLA and some. But they do a really nice job of separating everything out. Again, a little overwhelming sometimes, but if it's not in a simpler form, you might want to go to a more elaborate form they have here. And also they have a PowerPoint presentation. You can actually teach it to yourself or use it in a classroom if you're an instructor. Now, notice that they go through a lot of the same things that we just talked about. Here's a note about the URLs in MLA. So we talked about that. These are commonly used electronic sources. And there's the entire website. Again, same things that we've looked at, a page on a website. Here's one for an image. If you use a painting, a sculpture, or a photograph, this is how you would cite it. Web magazine, a scholarly journal. Scholarly journals usually have volumes and issue numbers. You know, one of the great things about these documentation formats and all of the resources that are available is that you don't have to memorize any of this. You have to just be smart enough to know where the answers are. And the answers are all right here in this spot. So I'm going to go down to the bottom down here because there's an email interview. And they also do, they're so up to date, they even do a tweet. So you can actually cite a tweet. So those are the resources to help you create that page, that last works cited page with all of your sources. Some of you may want to say, I don't want to put all these sources in MLA format because I might not use them all. I agree with that because you have to use everything on the works cited page in your paper. But the worst thing that can happen is you just have to delete that source. So be prepared and work ahead. Now, once we have that page, then we want to actually start writing the paper. And so we're going to look at this sample paper here. And we're going to go all the way to the top. And your instructor may follow MLA very closely, or he or she may have some additional way that you're supposed to handle MLA. So ask your teacher for special instructions. What I'm going to show you are the hard and fast rules of MLA. So MLA asks for everything to be double-spaced, everything in 12-point type, Times New Roman is the preferred font, and you're supposed to have 1-inch margins on all sides. Also, you're supposed to have in the upper right corner your last name, a space, and the page number. And that is to be in the header, not at the upper right corner. If you don't know how to set a header, go ask somebody, go to the help desk in University Center, come to the Writing Center, we'll show you how to set a header. The reason you want to do that is when you make changes and move the pages and the words around, it will stay right where it's supposed to be. Now, out of the header and in the upper left corner of your paper, you put your name, your instructor's name, spelled correctly, and your class, and then the date. And notice how the date is the day, the month, and the year. And everything is double-spaced. So if you are using Word, Word puts everything, for some odd reason, into Calibri, 11-point, and it also puts, after a paragraph, some extra space. After a hard return, it'll put in some extra space. You must take that out. If you're not sure how to, come into the Writing Center, go to the help desk, and we'll all help you. But it has to be completely double-spaced like this. So you go through all of your paragraphs. We'll talk about long quotes and that sort of thing. But this is what a works cited page would look like. So you would not have those little labels that you saw on what I called that cheat sheet. So those were just to help you determine what type of source you have. So this is what a finished works cited page would look like at the end of your paper. So it would say works cited. It's not bolded, it's not larger type or anything like that. Everything is double spaced still. It's alphabetized by the first word by the entry. The first word may not be the author's last name. If you don't have an author, we'll show you how to cite without the author's name, but you just go to the next piece of information is what you do. Just like we have Take the Lawn Care Road, Weeds of the World, Dandelion, those don't have authors. So they're alphabetized by the first word. If your article is the first thing and it starts with an article, A, N, or the, you alphabetize it by the next word, but you leave on the article A, N, and the. Again, don't have to memorize that. If you just go, you know, there was something she said about A, N, and the, and you walk in here and ask us, we'll be glad to explain it again. All right. So what you're looking at here is a completed works cited page. Whenever you have a source that's more than one line, you indent, you do what's called a hanging indent. If you don't want to set the hanging indent, the other thing you can do, a little trick, is to put the cursor at the beginning of the line and hit Control-Tab. If you hit Tab, everything's going to jump over. But if you hit Control-Tab, then just this line will move over. All right, so that's what the finished paper is supposed to look like. And we're going to talk about citing the sources in the text of the paper. So every source that's right here has to be cited in the paper. So when I grade students' papers, I take off the works cited page and I check when I go through the paper and make sure I saw this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And it doesn't matter how many times you use it, you only list it one time back here, alphabetically, so your reader can look back for it. So what we're going to do is look through the paper and you're going to see different ways that you can cite these sources. So I'm going to look for a source. Here's Dandelion. And notice that Dandelion had quotation marks around it on the works cited page, and it will have that in the parenthetical citation. Notice that the period goes after the parentheses in the in-text. When you move down, you'll notice there was a signal phrase here at the beginning. So you can either put Surf and Brown at the end, or you can put Surf and Brown, which were the two authors on the works cited page, at the beginning, then put the quote, and then end your quote, and the parentheses has the page number, if there's a page number. If you are using an electronic source, the only time you use a page number is if it's a PDF or you have some picture of the document that shows you the real page number. It is not the number as it cranks out of the printer. Now, their MLA does say you can use things like a paragraph, PAR period 3, or whatever like that. But your teacher can tell you if he or she wants you to do it that way. All right, so this just has a page number at the end, where this one is a long quote, and we'll talk about when you do long quotes. But notice the long quote, something different about it, the period goes before the parentheses in a long quote. Here's Weeds. Notice it's italicized because it's italicized on the works cited page. Here's one with Surf and Brown at the end. Notice there is no comma between the authors and the page number. No commas in MLA. And then we also have at the end of this an example of how to do an appendix. In this case, there was a poem about dandelions that was cited. This is Take. So it's cited there. And that's it. All right, so that's the sample paper. So let's go back and talk about these in-text citations very quickly. So remember this one here, sources and in-text. So at the top here, you look to see there are 3 ways you cite your sources. You do a short quote, a long quote, or a paraphrase. A short quote, you can either put the page number at the end if there is one, and you put the signal phrase or the author's name here, or you can put both of them at the end. Notice the period goes after the parentheses. In a long quote, and the long quote is defined as more than 4 lines when indented 2 tabs from the left margin, but it is still double-spaced. So it's still double-spaced, you indent 2 tabs, and the period goes in front of the parenthetical citation. This one had a signal phrase at the beginning. This one has no signal phrase, and you have it all at the end. That's a long quote, and it does not have quotation marks. The indentation shows the reader that it's a long quote. The other way that you can cite a source, which is where most people get into trouble, is the paraphrase. If you are trying to paraphrase something, that means you're putting it into your own words. You still have to cite it, and you have to put it into your own words. You don't change a word or two, and that's a paraphrase. You don't take out a few words and change it, and that's a paraphrase. To paraphrase something, you read it, you put it away, you put it in your own words, and then you still give credit to the source for the original idea. All right, so you have to cite it, or you can get in trouble for plagiarism. All right, so those are the 3 ways that you can cite in your paper. This shows you a couple of examples of how that's done with the PDFs. This is an HTML. It has no page number, as you can see. This is a PDF, and it will have a page number. So that's how you cite your sources in text. So that's the end of the MLA presentation, and I welcome you to come back and talk to us soon.